The one down.
Hello, it's Chris Morris from the BBC. President Tusk, your document talks about the fact that there will be no separate negotiations between individual member states and the UK. You've talked a lot about unity in the past week. This makes it sound like you're worried that the UK is going to try and pick off individual countries and have those kind of negotiations. How can you be sure that that won't happen? Secondly, the document also talks about you won't move on to a second phase of negotiation involving trade talks and future trade relationships until sufficient progress has been made in the initial phase. What does sufficient progress mean? And who is it? Simply the European Council that will define that? And Prime Minister Muscat, I value your thoughts on those issues as well. Thank you.
This is my first divorce, and I hope that the last one, it means that I have no experience at all. And this is why I want to be very cautious and precise. Let use my notes. But first of all, when it comes to our unity and solidarity, I have no doubts, especially after our summit in Rome and after our Rome Declaration, that this is not only a declaration, and for sure it is not a propaganda. This is the truth, that all 27 want and will be united during the negotiations. And I have no doubts that this is in our common interest, but also in the interest of the UK. If they want to achieve a constructive agreement, it means that they should discuss and negotiate only with the 27 as a unity. This is the only way to achieve anything during this very difficult process.
Well, from my side, it's obvious that the British government is in contact with all member states. I don't think that there is any instruction from Brussels or any institution not to have a regular and normal relationship with our British counterparts. We will continue to engage with the United Kingdom, and I think all member states will. But, and that this is a clear demarcation line, when it comes to negotiations on this issue, on Brexit and on future relationships, there is a clear commitment by the 27 to have just one point of contact, and that point of contact is Mr. Barnier. That negotiation is led exclusively from the European side by Mr. Barnier, and I do believe, as Donald has just said, that this is not something of a lip service, but this is a true political commitment from each side. When it comes to your question on sufficient progress, yes, we are seeing that the sufficient progress is determined exclusively by the European Council.
Yeah, I want to be very clear, and I want to support Joseph. It must be clear that the EU as 27 decides if sufficient progress has been achieved. Probably in the autumn. It's at least I hope so.
Okay. Second row. Behind you.
Thanks. Robin Emmett from Reuters. President Tusk, in the guidelines, there is envisaged some kind of transition period in which Britain would continue to pay into the EU budget and be under the jurisdiction of the ECJ. Both those things are the reasons why people voted to leave the EU. I wondered, why have you included them? Thank you.
Let me say just one thing about it, about money and some impressions on the both sides of the channel. There is no such thing as a Brexit bill or penalty for leaving. We want to talk just about fairness and commitments. I have no doubt that for both sides it's really important to demonstrate that we want to be fair to each other during the negotiations.
I will add to that there is no, as Donald was saying, Brexit bill. I think that the letter that Prime Minister May sent in itself acknowledges that the UK has commitments. So what we're setting out here in the draft guidelines, once they're agreed, but I think there is a broad agreement on the document that Donald has put forward, and okay, some things might be added, some things might be subtracted, but the essence is there. I do believe that the idea is one which shows and says that those commitments must be respected. And the idea is that we have to come out with a methodology that shows and calculates those commitments, and also what Britain needs to take from European assets, as in a clear balance sheet. So I do believe that this is very, very obvious. On the ECJ and other European institutions governing transition periods, in our books, transition periods means that you're still a member, or at least you still have access to a membership situation. If you have such an access, it is obvious, it goes without saying that the institutions we have all agreed upon need to govern that period. We will obviously not intrude on what happens afterwards within the United Kingdom. Then, when it comes to a free trade agreement, we will have to have negotiations, and those negotiations will then determine what type of institutions will govern that new type of arrangements.
Okay, we have time for one last question.
Nigel Mifsud from Television Malta. President Tusk, Prime Minister Muscat 2 days ago expressed his concern following Prime Minister May's letter on the link between the trade agreement and future security cooperation. Is this acceptable? And have you received any concerns from Member States about Prime Minister May's letters?
You know, especially after the terrorist attack in London, I mean the latest events, it must be clear that terrorism is our common problem and security is our common problem. I know Theresa May well enough, and I know her approach to this issue. This is why I rule out this kind of interpretation and speculation that security cooperation is used as a bargaining chip. It must be a misunderstanding. Our partners are wise and decent partners, and this is why I'm absolutely sure that no one is interested in using security cooperation as a bargaining chip.
I would like to confirm that even though it was something that hit the headlines and really and truly many people, including ourselves, noted, we have had reassurances from the British government that this is a misinterpretation. We will take, at least my government will take, the British government's word. We do believe that they are decent partners, people who will not bargain on security of any of our citizens, and I do believe that we will start these tough negotiations in a spirit of sincere cooperation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.